$1 million deal to come and join the Clippers, and he's not coming alone. The Clippers also were making a trade to acquire Paul George from Oklahoma City, trading a boatload of draft picks along with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari. We're live here in Los Angeles as all this is breaking. What a day.
What a day it was, especially in a night with the earthquake and all that. Right. And then Kawhi Leonard makes his decision, and he knows where he is going to be playing basketball, right here in Los Angeles. But with the Clippers, joining us now is our Ramona Shelbune. And the Lakers are not fans of the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, Ramona Shelbune, because the Thunder helped make this happen, helped bring Kawhi to the Clippers because he was able to bring Paul George with him in this blockbuster deal. How did this happen? How did OKC make this happen for Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers organization?
So, the Oklahoma City Thunder felt like they didn't have much of a choice here because within the last couple of days, and really what we've seen is in the last couple of days, free agency was pretty much over. Okay, free agency was July 1st and really June 30th, and this Paul George's trade demand came after free agency had begun, and so the Oklahoma City Thunder heard from Paul George that he requested a trade and he wanted to go to the Clippers to play with Kawhi, and they felt like, you know what, we've seen this movie before. We saw it in New Orleans last year with Anthony Davis. We saw this in San Antonio with Kawhi Leonard, and we're not about to go through this with Paul George. And they felt like, this is, obviously a team they felt like could contend. They had at least another year or so in them to contend. But if you were going to have an unhappy star there, they had to get what they could for him, and they got a fairly historic haul for Paul George here. But in some ways, the Thunder's perspective on it, they weren't really trading just Paul George. They were getting a haul for Kawhi Leonard too, because I'm not sure Kawhi Leonard goes to the Clippers without Paul George. We may be having a different conversation if they don't make this trade.
Yeah, I asked that question, Ronan. It's a good point. I asked that question to Woj earlier in SportsCenter, and he said he doubted that would happen, that he would have picked the Clippers if Paul George did not come with him. So that was interesting. So now as we look at the Clippers and we look at the Lakers situation, we found out the Lakers agreeing to a deal with Danny Green, a 2-year deal. When you look at the Lakers and where they stand, what is your takeaway for them? Now what?
Well, they were starting to get a sense that this wasn't going their way the last day or so with Kawhi Leonard, because the information, they kind of felt like this kept getting pushed back, and they had to go about their business. I mean, they have a trade for Anthony Davis that's supposed to be completed tomorrow, and because Kawhi Leonard was still out there, because you still had to wait on him, this is now 18 players involved in that trade and 8 different teams. I mean, this trade needed to go through on July 6th, and if Kawhi Leonard was still taking his time and was asking them, can you wait, this was going to start getting very uncomfortable for everyone involved. Now, Anthony Davis waived his $4 million trade kicker, and from what I understand, you can't unwind that. So he gave up $4 million for them to pursue Kawhi Leonard, and they thought they had a good chance at him. But, I guess he just has to, he's giving that money, I guess, to Danny Green. But I would expect them to move in short order to bring back Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I know they've been talking concurrently with JaVale McGee and Rajon Rondo, certain guys they've had on the team in the past. This was obviously not Plan A. Plan A was to get the 3 stars, but they still feel really good about Anthony Davis joining their team once that trade goes through tomorrow.
This we know, the rivalry, Clippers-Lakers, better than ever. Ramona Shelbune, thank you so much.
Protected future first-round picks, a protected future first-round pick, 2 pick swaps, and outstanding rookie point guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari for Paul George. Paul George came to the Thunder in the last couple of days and asked to be traded to the Clippers. He wanted to play with Kawhi Leonard, and to get this deal done to stave off the Lakers, stave off the Toronto Raptors, the Los Angeles Clippers, Steve Ballmer, Lawrence Frank, their president, made a decision to make, really a historic commitment to deliver 2 All-Stars to their team. And now in Staples Center, it's Paul George and Kawhi Leonard against Anthony Davis, LeBron James.
From what you're hearing, with Paul George going to the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard. If OKC didn't help to make that trade happen, would Kawhi Leonard have gone ahead and picked the Clippers if George was not coming with him?
I don't believe Kawhi Leonard was going to go to the Clippers without a second star coming in. I think essentially Kawhi Leonard's position in these last couple of days to all the teams was, I'm maybe going to go to the best team and the team that loads up. And the Clippers were the team that had to make a move to bring in a second star. There is more talent with the Lakers, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Obviously, the team he left in Toronto. The Clippers had been Kawhi Leonard's focus for this entire process, but they needed to improve themselves. They go out and get Paul George, and now you have these two elite bookend forwards to play together, but they paid a steep price. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, their first-round pick last year, had an outstanding rookie season. Patrick Beverley will be their point guard now, but the Clippers, faced with the idea of Kawhi Leonard setting up shop in their own building with the Lakers and what that big three would have looked like, or even him going back to Toronto, they went all in a way that we have not seen a team previous go all in.
This is amazing. Adrian Wojnarowski, you've been following it all along. Hard to predict. Just incredible. Thank you for your insight joining SportsCenter.
Thanks, Linda.
All right, let's bring in Rachel Nichols now, host of The Jump on ESPN. She joins us from Las Vegas. Rachel, first of all, your general reaction when you heard the news of Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers with Paul George in this trade.
Well, it's amazing. We've been hearing little rumors about this for the past couple of days, but nothing solid enough for our reporters to put out there. But, you know, we have these back discussions, right, when we're sitting around waiting for all this news to come in, meaning, okay, if this really happened, if Paul George really was going to get that trade from Oklahoma City and go to the Clippers with Kawhi, what price is too high for the Clippers? What do you think the trade would actually be? And what I've been saying for the past couple of days is there's no price too high. The thing is that by making this deal, the Clippers aren't just trading for Paul George. You can think of all those picks and pick swaps and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari as trading for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Because Woj, what he just did on the air is, as usual, absolutely true. They are not getting Kawhi if they don't bring in another superstar of that caliber. So that's why this deal got made. And as you see, as we get through the next 24 hours, just how high that price tag is. Keep in mind, it's for two superstars, and you're talking about the Finals MVP who just rolled over and won a championship, and now he's going to have Paul George with him, a guy who, as he just tweeted the other day, has two healthy shoulders now and is ready to roll.
Rachel, think about how the landscape has changed, big picture now in the NBA. We went into last season thinking about this Warriors dynasty and would there be any competitive balance in the short term? And in the process of one off season, everything has changed and there's competitive balance all over the league now.
Absolutely. And just think about what that Brooklyn team is going to be when Kevin Durant gets healthy. This is the thing about the NBA. We have a lot of discussions about going forward and what's the future going to be, and people saying, oh, I don't even need to watch. I know what's going to happen. I heard so many times, Dan, over the last 6 months, I don't even need to watch. We know what's going to happen. Guess what? The Golden State Warriors did not win the title in June. The Toronto Raptors did, which is something to think about at this time last year, right? I mean, you never would have expected it. Toronto hadn't even made the trade for Kawhi yet. Now, a year later, Kawhi Leonard is an LA Clipper, and that rivalry in the building is going to be insane. I mean, Linda picked the right time to move to Los Angeles, don't you think?
Absolutely, and we're glad to have her. So now, what for the Lakers? Because they had a lot invested in attracting Kawhi Leonard with Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Absolutely. And look, they knew this was a high-risk gamble for a couple reasons, not the least of which is the longer they waited for Kawhi, the more other free agents they missed out on. They have this cap room that they had sort of scrounged and gathered together to get Kawhi Leonard. But if they didn't get Kawhi Leonard, they knew that they could at least spend that on some really good complementary role players. The problem is a lot of those role players that they would ideally have loved to have on the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron James have been snapped up by other teams in the last 5 days. So there are still some guys who have been waiting, frankly, for this decision, waiting on Kawhi, not because they necessarily want to join where Kawhi was going to go, but because they knew that the two teams that didn't get Kawhi would suddenly have more room, especially the Lakers. The question now is, who are the Lakers going to get? Are some of the guys who waited going to fall their way? Can they fill out a team, and can they do it quickly? Because once the trade for Anthony Davis executes, and this has sort of been the other thing hovering over the Lakers the last 24, 48 hours, once that starts to domino, they won't have as much cap room because the guys they're sending out make less money than the guy that they're bringing in Anthony Davis. You can do that with a player of that level. You can bring in 125% of the salary that you are sending 100% out. But that means that their cap room will shrink. So it's unclear if those trades are going to start executing right away at noon tomorrow, which is when they officially can start. The league has a whole big backlog of trades to get through, and also some of the teams involved may be able to give the Lakers some grace period. They may choose to, they may not. But that is another element now that Rob Pelinka is going to have to juggle. Not only has he missed out on Kawhi Leonard, he is going to have to try to fill that space with complementary role players for LeBron and AD, and there's a clock on him. He's going to have to try to do it quickly.
And what about the Raptors? They go from the elation of an NBA title with Kawhi Leonard, trying to recruit him to stay with offers of free meals forever if he stays
right.
from Toronto restaurants.
Free meals, apartments, boats, whatever you want.
Everything, all the incentives, but now they have to get over it.
Raptors fans who I spoke to in the last week or so had a pretty good attitude. They won a title that they certainly didn't expect at the beginning of the season. And Kawhi Leonard did everything that he possibly could for them, right? He was traded there. He didn't choose to go there. He was traded there. He came in. He did his job. He was a total pro, and he won them the franchise's only NBA title. So I think there's definitely disappointment in Toronto, and the fact that he flew back to Toronto to take his meeting with the Raptors. I'm sure in his mind that was, hey, I want to be a good guy. I want to cross all the T's, dot the I's, go see them on their terms, on their turf. It did serve to get some of the Raptors fans' hopes up, right, though, when he came to Toronto, and there were people waiting outside the hotel. So that little mountain and valley is going to have to pass. But I think in the end, even the fans who are disappointed will be grateful for what he did while he was there.